All right, you guys, what's up? Welcome back. We are live. As you are logging on here, say hello, tell me where you're coming in from, all the fun things. We have hot topics for this evening. We already got someone in here from Canada. We're going to give it a couple minutes for people to get logged on like we always do. Once those notifications pop, all that kind of fun stuff. And also, while we're waiting, up here in the corner, got my Showtime posing bootcamp. It takes place directly after the Olympia here in Vegas. So if you're going to be here in Vegas for the Olympia and you want to stay for an extra 2 days, hang out with me and the cuties and do some posing, training, nutrition, all the fun things, girls' night out, all the fun things right here. We got like a couple of tickets left. We have an Airbnb. It's going to be fun times. What's up? Welcome. We got more Japan, Massachusetts. We're coming in. Or Maine is MA. Maine is MA, right? I just showed my blonde. Yeah, I know geography real well. What's up? What's up? Yeah, we got hot topics this evening. Now, always, if you want to come work with me, then you can go to Stage Ready by Sean Couture Cuties. I do hair, makeup, suits, and posing, all the fun stuff. I also do train and coach through Fit Body Fusion, so that is also an option for you as well. And like I said, we're going to wait about 3 minutes or so. So as we're waiting, if you're logging on, tell me where you're coming in from. And then we're going to get onto today's news and hot topics, the new qualification system for the Olympia. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know geography all that well. State abbreviations. From the state of Washington. There you go. Yeah. Well, I would have gotten that one because, I do live in Northern Virginia outside D.C. So I would have gotten the state of Washington. That one I would have gotten for sure. And I do have this up on my phone as well because I can see the comments faster when they come in on my phone than when they come in on here on my streaming service. So my streaming service is delayed. Okay, so we are at the 3-minute mark. We're going to go ahead and get started on tonight's topic. We are not reviewing shows or anything like that tonight. We are getting close to the Olympia cutoff for 2025, which means we are entering into the new qualification system for next year. And there have been some changes. I've been watching like all the posts go up, all the Instagram posts and stuff, and reading the comments. And there's a few things that I just feel like people are missing in this whole situation. So we're going to talk about them here. And first thing we're going to do is we're going to pull up the qualifications. Where is it? That's important. Here it is. Okay. All right, so we're going to keep that shared up here. So for those of you that have not seen it yet, this is the qualification series system for 2026 Olympia. I have my thoughts. Before I say my thoughts, go ahead and type into the comments. Do you like this idea? Do you think it's the right direction? Do you think it's the wrong direction? Give me your points as to why you think one way or the other. As we start discussing this, I'll tell you mine. But we're going to kind of read through this. So this is for the qualification system for classic, physique, men's physique, bikini, and wellness, which clearly have the most shows as far as pro shows are concerned. So the top 25 in point standings will qualify for the Olympia. There's automatic qualification for the Olympia if you win 2 contests. Okay, so if you win 2 contests, you're no longer on the point system. You just are qualified. So there's a few things that are kind of absent from all of this, right? So we're going to talk about it in a minute. So clearly here you got Olympia, top 3 do qualify. That was the same thing this past year as well for the last few years. 12 points for fourth, 10 points for fifth. For the Arnold, Pittsburgh, New York, Romania, and Dubai, you get an automatic qualification for the first place. And then 14, 11, 9, and 7. Those are your top tier shows. It's always been like that for top tiers. For those of you that have only been around for a couple of years, this is the tier system they used to have. These were the top tier shows, with the caveat of Romania was never in there before. Dubai was never in there before. Tampa used to be in there, and Chicago used to be in there, but they're not anymore. And Toronto. Toronto used to be in there as well. So those three are no longer a top tier show. Now they've got Romania and Dubai in there. Pittsburgh and New York always was. Arnold always was. Then every other pro show is 10, 4, 3, 2, 1 for your points. So you got your qualifying system for open, 212, women's bodybuilding, so on and so forth. We're not really going to talk about those much, other than we now have Fit Model in there too. So Fit Model is being added to the Olympia lineup, which means the top three from the 2025 Olympia. It does not apply to Fit Model, obviously. What does apply to Fit Model is winner of each open contest held during the qualification period. Okay. Then they've got your wheelchair bodybuilding here too, and so on and so forth. This is something I think a lot of people didn't realize. To note that any former Olympia winner has lifetime eligibility. However, this eligibility is not automatic. Where there's 5 years have elapsed since the last Olympia win, approval of the IFBB Pro League is required. So the first thing we're going to talk about is, how do you feel about Fit Model being added to the Olympia lineup? So that's the first thing. And I'm going to come over here and read your comments while I'm waiting for you guys to comment on the Fit Model aspect. So you got us a step. I'm curious to see how it plays out. I think shows will be more competitive and bigger in quantity. This is a more thoughtful approach versus just point-based. There are too many shows of various qualities to auto-qualify every winner. And pure point system will force pros to grind all year. I think it'll be easier for athletes in the States to rack up points, but all around, I like it. Okay, what else? Anybody have any thoughts on Fit Model being added to the Olympia lineup this coming year? Any thoughts on that before we move on to the point system? So I'm going to let you guys comment if you want, but first thing is, I am always a fan. If you've followed me for any period of time, I'm always a fan of qualifying as many athletes as possible. That's the first thing, because that's how we grow a fan base. That's how we grow participation in the sport. We need more people, period. We need more bodies on the stages, period. So I'm a fan of Fit Model being added for this coming year. I don't know, how many pro shows they're planning on having. I don't imagine there'll be a ton, such as it is brand new and we don't have a lot of Fit Model pros to begin with. I'm sure some girls will come down from bikini, myself included, that kind of thing. But I don't think that these shows are going to be super full at first, because we just don't have a lot of pros in the division. And I also think that a lot of girls that have not been active competitors for a long period of time can't just automatically flip the switch and all of a sudden come back and be in Fit Model if they were competitive in bikini 10 years ago, right? So while we'll see some people come back and we will see some bikini competitors switch, I don't think it will be as many as people think that it's going to be. I think we'll have a decent amount, but I don't think we're going to have a ton. So I do think that hopefully within the first handful of shows, pro shows for Fit Model, we'll have a pretty clear understanding what the criteria should be, because something I've seen throughout the course of the last half of this year so far with Fit Model is that the competitors are getting more muscular and more conditioned, looking like bikini competitors, really. So I'm kind of anxious to get Fit Model onto the pro stage. So hopefully we can get a better idea of what the criteria is supposed to be, because I still don't think we really have that yet. So, like I said, bottom line is, I'm a fan. More athletes, I'm a fan. More athletes, period, right? So I'm good with Fit Model being added. I am curious to see how that plays out going into the first half of the year. Okay, point system. So we're going to go up and just pull this up here as much as we can here. So I actually like the point system. I have talked about this before. It keeps things interesting. I think that it keeps us engaged. When we had the point system before, it kept us all talking about it, but I think there's a balance with the point system. Okay. So there was a year where it was only point system, meaning only the top 25 qualified on points and nobody else qualified. So it was a dogfight trying to get into those points. We had people that qualified literally on the last show, things like that, by 1 point or 2 points, that kind of thing here and there. So it kept things fun and kept things interesting. So I do like the point system in that regard. Now, the way they have it set up this year is you have to win 2 shows in order to automatically qualify. So if you win 2 shows, then you're out of the point system and you're just automatically qualified. So if you win 2 shows, you're qualified, and then it goes on to the next, 25 in line as far as who's going to be qualified. So I actually don't have an issue with that either, except if this is a attempt to bring the numbers down for the number of athletes who actually qualify for the Olympia, I see that being problematic. And here's really basic, simple math as to why. Okay. So the Olympia, we're already getting 3 people qualified at the Olympia. Top 3 are already qualifying. Okay. Then we have the Arnold, Pittsburgh, New York, Romania, Dubai, already qualified for the winners. Okay. So there's 8 people qualified for the Olympia already, right off the bat in each division here. Okay. Realistically, when you're taking the entire world into account, there is at least 20 to 30 girls who will absolutely win 2 or more pro shows. At least. So now we are looking at approximately 30 to 40 girls already qualified for the Olympia automatically on 2 wins. Then we are adding on another 25 girls in points. So now we are up to 55, 65, 70, 75 or so girls, depending on how many actually qualified through winning shows, that are qualified for the Olympia. So it does not cut down on the numbers at all. It's the exact same. So the only way that this works in eliminating the number of competitors that qualify for the Olympia is if they cut back on pro show sanctions. Are they going to do that? That's the question. And I don't think that they're going to. That's the first thing, because it's just growing worldwide, right? We're forgetting that we now have Asia involved, right? We have South America. We have Europe. We have Australia. We have everywhere involved, the entire world involved. So there will absolutely be 20 to 30 girls that qualify automatically by winning 2 shows. So, like I said, we're looking at a good, again, for round numbers, we're looking at 30 to 40 girls that are going to qualify on wins. So add on, say it's 40 girls that qualify on wins and on the Olympia and all this kind of stuff, add on 25. We're back up to the numbers we've got right now. So I don't see how that helps, right? I'm going to go back and say, listen, I am a fan of qualifying everybody. I think everybody that wins a show should qualify. And then we go back to I liked the point system before where I had the top 3 in points earnings were also qualified. I liked that because, again, it keeps it interesting. You're rooting for people. You got a fan base going for you, things like that. So, top 3 in the points earnings, they do qualify as well. I like all of that. I think that makes it fun. I think it makes it interesting. And then going back to having some sort of a cut round at the Olympia, whether it's, all 75, 80 girls get to the Olympia stage and then they cut everybody before they go to the expo stage. The expo stage has 15 to 20 girls on it. And then the final stage has the top 10, whatever you got to do. Because here's the thing, if you qualify everybody, guess what? They're going to go. They're going to compete. They're not going to make it to the expo or the final stage, but they're going to go participate in the Olympia activities. So that boosts up the sport. It boosts up all the revenue and everything like that too. Bring it down so that Jake Wood doesn't actually pay for people unless you make it into the top 20 girls, that kind of thing. So then that cuts down on the expenses as well. And then like I said, the Olympia qualified athletes are all there to actually participate in the Olympia if they don't make it to the stage, all that kind of stuff. That grows the sport, right? So, there's things about, there's things about this particular point system that I think are great. I think it's actually good, but I don't think it's accomplishing the goal that they're going to want it to accomplish. I think we're still going to have about 70 girls qualify for the Olympia, or, each division here, like men's physique and things like that. I think we're still going to have that number of competitors on that stage. I don't think it's going to make it any different, right? And then, the other part of this too is, it's not necessarily going to be the best qualified athletes that make it into the point standings. It's going to be the ones that can afford to compete multiple times. There's some competitors that'll look great for 2 or 3 shows, and then they continue to get worse after that, or they just continue to spend more money and showing up and getting in those third place spots and getting enough points to qualify. So it doesn't necessarily mean we're going to get the best athletes on that stage. It means we're going to get the ones that can afford to be on that stage over and over and over and over again. And the other thing that they're not talking about too is this whole initiative to push natural shows. So what happens now with the natural shows? Because the natural shows, as it is this year, they qualify you for the Ben Weider, and then the Ben Weider qualifies you for the Olympia. So what's going to happen next year? Is the Ben Weider going to still qualify you for the Olympia, or do you have to win 2 pro shows? Or do you just get points for the Ben Weider? And then you have to go out and you have to win another show in order to qualify. So now all of a sudden the incentive to stay natural goes poof, gone. So there's a lot of holes in this system here. There's a lot of holes in the system. Okay. Let me see. I'm going to go back. And so Ash will compete often. Doesn't matter. Just because so on that comment, there's a good point, but people like Ashley to compete often. Doesn't matter. There's still going to be girls that go out and win multiple pro shows. There is every year. And they're going to continue to compete too, because they want to be able to be on the top tiers, right? Is the Olympia level about participation? Yeah, if you want a pro show, you should freaking go to the Olympia, period. You won a show. It's not about participation. You won a show. You got there. You qualified. I'm a fan of having more girls qualify, but have not been paying too much attention to the pro shows this year because the lists have not been as hot as the previous few years. Yep. So, yeah, and again, I'm just looking at the comments here. Repeat more, top 25. Fit model was developed to bring the criteria that bikini was back in 2010. The same criteria that was on the Olympia stage in 2010, or I'm sorry, not 2010, 2015. 2015 criteria was on the Olympia stage. It will be the right incentive to set. Top rows competing a little more will make the pro shows more exciting. Yeah, I think. Yeah, and again, I like the point system. Going back to, I like the point system because it does keep things exciting. I like having you have to do a lot of strategy. You got to know which shows to go into. You go into these top tier shows where you could win more points, things like that. I like that aspect. Everything about this actually, again, I don't even have a problem with the two pro wins in order to qualify for the Olympia. I don't even have a problem with that. I think that's fine. Except that I don't think it's going to bring down the number of qualified athletes. I think we're going to have just as many. The only way this will bring down the number of people that are qualified for the Olympia is if there's less pro shows. That's the only way. And there's going to be more because, again, this is worldwide now. Last time we had the point system, it was not as worldwide as it is now. It wasn't. The shows in Asia are growing rapidly, multiplying rapidly, right? So are the ones in Europe and also in South America. So people forget about this. This is worldwide now, right? And again, I go back to, if you win a pro show, I'm still a believer that if you win a pro show, you should be able to go to the Olympia. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you get to step on the prestigious part of the stage. You can do a cut round, or even, we talked about this on Behind the Bikini too, even everybody gets on the expo stage, but not everybody does their individual routine. They just do comparisons and call outs, and that's it. Do comparisons and call outs, whoever's in those top 3 call outs, the top 20 girls or whatever, those are the ones that get to do the full judging, do their full routine. Top 10 go to the finals, just like always, all of that kind of stuff. But there has to be a way to cut down the number of athletes on the actual Olympia stage. And I don't think that this point system is going to do that. I don't think it's going to. I think it's going to qualify just as many people. Now, again, I like the points. I think it's fun. Keeps it interesting, keeps the strategy going. We get to see who's going to do what shows to try to get more points. I loved all that when they did that just a few years ago. They did it forever. They just took the point system out a couple of years ago. I like the point system. But again, I go back to, I don't see how this is going to accomplish the goal of less people on the Olympia stage. And I've said this before too, like, I go to the Olympia every year. I sit through prejudging. It is boring as fuck. It is. I'm sorry. 2 hours of bikini, not it, right? So that's why I say there has to be a way to cut people out before all of that. So I've said my two favorite options are either you have a cut round prior to the expo stage, or you just do call outs. You just, like what they do the first looks, you just do call outs and comparisons, and not everybody gets to do their routine. Narrow it down to the top 20 on the expo stage, narrow it down to the top 10 on the final stage. Boom, done. And you have to make it into the top 20 in order to get your stuff paid for at the Olympia. And like I said, that will just boost everybody all the way around, because even if you don't make it to the top 20, you're still going to want to come to the Olympia. And you're going to still stay the whole weekend. You're still going to buy tickets. You're still going to go to the expo. You're still going to participate. You're still going to spend money. You're still going to be a fan of the sport and support it. Everybody wins. They did cutouts at NBC Nationals in the 90s after groups. So only top 15 who were numbers were called out. Individuals called. Right. Exactly. Take the same model that we have from the national stage and do it at the Olympia. Same thing, right? Why do we got to reinvent this? Right? Like when you show wrap-ups and bring up into the points. Yeah. Again, when we got the points and stuff like that, it makes the show wrap-ups and stuff like that fun, because you can start talking about strategy and say, ooh, is she going to go to this show? Is she going to go to that show? Whatever. It makes it cool. I like that. I've said this before. I love the strategy of it, right? For pre-cool rounds before prejudging without live audience, make more work for the judges, but I think it would be better for the actual show. 100%. It would make the show so much better if we did that. I'm telling you, man. It would be so much easier to sit through. Because the other part of it too is, those of you that have been to the Olympia, you have to get there first thing in the morning to get a good seat. Right? You have to get there to get that seat. You got to go with somebody that can hold your seat for you and stuff like that too. So you literally have to be in prejudging all day long if you plan to get any kind of a decent seat to see anything. And you have to sit through divisions that you don't want to sit through in order to see the divisions that you want to see. So cut that shit down so we don't have to do all that, right? Because yeah, it'll make more work for the judges, but not really, because then they don't have to sit there for fucking 2-3 hours for every single division that day, right? They can have a break between prejudging and finals. As it is now, prejudging runs all the way up until finals starts. The judges literally leave, go get changed, and go to finals. That's what they do. So if they cut everything down, the judges would actually have more time. So even if they did the prejudging the day before, the cut round the day before or something like that, I'm sure the judges would rather sit through a couple hours that day and have a break of like 3-4 hours on prejudging, on actual prejudging day, before they have to go straight into finals. Give them a chance to sit down, have some food, put their feet up, take a nap, whatever. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'd like that. So I'm just like sitting here, I'm like shaking my head. I'm like, I don't know why. I mean, because I know that the biggest thing that everybody has always talked about is how we need less people on the actual Olympia stage, right? So I don't know why nobody did any simple math with this. It's really, really simple math. we're going to end up with the same number of competitors on stage. It's going to be the same number of people. With the caveat of if they don't have as many pro show sanctions next year. If they don't have as many pro show sanctions next year, then we will have less people on the Olympia stage. But if we don't have more pro show sanctions next year, that's a problem in and of itself. That means the growth of the sport is going down. So, problematic. And, like I said, I mean, this whole year, they've had this whole push for these natural shows and stuff like that, too. So what happens to those natural shows now? I mean, I guarantee you somebody who wins Ben Weider can't go into a regular show where it's not tested and win one of those shows to get qualified. So what happens to them now? So one set judges for all, pretty much, yeah. There's, as far as the number of judges for all divisions, yes. They've got a bunch of judges that switch in and out, but it's pretty much the same people, just kind of on a rotation. They'll get up and have like a 20-minute break or something to go to the bathroom or get something, get a coffee or whatever, and then they come back on the panel. Your main head judges are there for every division. So like Sandy will be there for all of the female divisions as the head judge. Steve and Tyler will be there for all of the male divisions. That they don't really rotate all that much. Well, that's the question, Amanda. If the numbers aren't going to change, then why did they change it again? That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I don't really know. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, maybe there's this thing that we don't know yet about the pro schedule for next year. Maybe the pro schedule for next year is going to be a lot more diminished on the pro shows, maybe. But if that's the case, then that's a whole other problem in and of itself. So I don't know. Should sanctions in order to cut down the athletes at the Olympia stage is a business suicide. Correct. 100%. It's business suicide. Absolutely. Right. Let's not eat so we won't choke. 100%. Agreed. Yes. When do the judges get off during Olympia week? Is Thursday because the Olympia Amateur goes on Tuesday and Wednesday. Can you imagine judging 5 days straight? No, I get that. I understand that. But at the same time, if they judged on Thursday, they would have a break on Friday and they would have a break on Saturday where they don't have a break now. So the other part of that too is they could bring in other pro judges to judge the pre-judging or something along that line. Right? There's more judges out there that are not Olympia level judges. They could certify or qualify more judges. They could do that. If the sport is growing, they probably need more. Just saying. An opportunity to. I'm not sure of the question you're asking, Amanda. There are less shows, but highly competitive. They're all highly competitive as it is. I don't know what shows you've been watching, but they're all highly competitive. All of them. Every one of them. Most of the pro shows that I see for every division, it's not just bikini, for every division, I can make an argument for any girl in the top 5 to have won the show. They're all incredibly competitive. Incredibly competitive. That's why they got rid of the point system in the first place, because initially the top tier shows, like I said, the top tier shows initially, New York, Pittsburgh, Toronto, Tampa, Chicago. Those were your top tier, other than the Arnold and the Olympia. Those used to be your top tier shows. So those were the shows when you went into them, you got more points. That's not the case anymore. Obviously, this year they've changed it. But the reason why they got rid of those is because they realized that the competition was the same in every show. So now they're trying to give incentives to do the Dubai show, to do Romania. They've got vested interest in these particular shows. right? They want to get people into them. You give them an automatic qualification. Hopefully that motivates them to go into those shows because they're spending a lot of money on those shows. So again, I go back to, I don't have a problem with this. I don't have a problem with the tier division. I don't have a problem with the points division. I just don't really understand what the motivation behind it is because we're going to end up with the same number of competitors. If anybody can tell me what the motivation behind this was, because, again, the buzz is they want to qualify less people and make the Olympia more competitive and more exclusive. Okay, like I get that. I understand. But this is not going to do that. I mean, a very simple math equation is going to show you that's not going to do that. Right? Surprised Toronto is a top tier show and is always so small. It never used to be. Toronto is not a top tier show anymore. But back when I did it as my pro debut. It was massive. It was a massive show. And actually, I believe, don't quote me on this, Laura Lee won it one year. I don't know if it was her pro debut. It may have been her pro debut. But that year, it was deep that year. You got to remember, I mean, the landscape of this sport as far as countries and worldwide coverage and things like that has changed drastically in the last couple of years. It's changed a lot in the last couple of years. It wasn't like this when I first started. Which again goes back to, I don't understand why they think this is going to make less competitors qualify for the Olympia because we have more shows all over the world. So, and if you got one girl in Europe who does a handful of shows, she wins a European show, she's going to win another European show. It happens every year. We've got girls that win 2 or 3 European shows every year. So it's not going to cut down on the number of girls. It's just not. And this is I'm using, bikini as the standard here because we talk about bikini here on this podcast or live feed or whatever. But it's the same for men's physique and same for classic physique too. So, I mean, somebody tell me what I'm missing, because I just don't get it. I don't get it. I'm going to leave it open for another couple of minutes. So to wrap this up, I mean, you can type into the comments any questions or any comments you might have, and maybe it'll bring some light or something. I mean, to wrap this up, I'm happy they're bringing in Fit Model. Like I said, I am forever an advocate of more people in the sport, more people at the Olympia is better, period. No matter how you slice it, no matter how you want to dress it up, more people at the Olympia is a good thing for the sport. Okay. Second, I like the point system. I think it keeps things fun. I think it keeps things interesting. I love the strategy behind the point system. It makes it fun as a competitor, makes it fun as a coach, it makes it fun as a spectator and as a fan. I love the point system for that aspect of it. Third, I just don't understand how it's going to cut down on the number of competitors qualified for the Olympia. The only thing that I can see happening to make this piece come true is that there's less pro shows next year, which again is not a good idea. Going back to my very first point of the more people qualified and involved, the better across the board. The more people qualified and involved, the better. It just gets more fans interested. It gets more companies, promoters, and sponsors interested. It gets more athletes interested. It grows the sport exponentially with every person that you add to it. So I'm good with having hundreds of people qualify for the Olympia. We just have to cut it down before they get to the expo stage. That's all. And I don't think that the current point system is going to do that. And honorable mention, what happens to the natural shows next year? Because somebody who wins the Ben Weider this year is going to the Olympia. There is no way that person is going to be able to qualify and win 2 pro shows next year, unless it's fitness. Fitness is the one category where you could be natural and you could win a natural show, Ben Weider, and also an open show. That's the one. That is the one division where you could do that. And fit model, but fit model is not a part of the conversation this year right now. So yeah, anything else that you guys wanted to ask or add or comment on in this regard? I will leave it open for like 1 or 2 more minutes for comments. And while we're waiting, like I said, if you are coming to the Olympia this year, this is my Showtime ready posing boot camp. Okay. Doing it on Sunday and Monday. After the Olympia, leaving on Tuesday. We have an Airbnb. We're doing posing. We're doing training. Fit Club here in Vegas is one of our sponsors. So we will be going to Fit Club and training, doing physique assessments, all of that. We will be doing posing, hardcore posing, like intense boot camp. Going through doing meal prepping and macros, explaining how to put everything together, working through your current meal plan, your current macros, so we can make it easier for you to stick to it and make progressive gains. And we're going to have girls' night out. We're going to do some dinners. We're going to go out, have some fun. I'll even show you how to put your alcohol into your macros here in Vegas. And we're all going to be at this really luxurious Airbnb together, having a great time. So it's going to be fun times. So we have like 3 tickets left here, right here. If you're coming for the Olympia, just stay for an extra 2 days and you can come. Anything else you guys want to add? Any other questions? Any other comments? So like I said, all day today, I was kind of scrolling through and like reading comments and stuff like that. And I didn't see anybody bring this up. The fact that it doesn't really cut down on the number of athletes that qualify. So maybe that's not what the goal was. I don't know. I just thought that's what the goal was. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's not the goal. All right, guys, I'm going to leave this open for just a little bit longer. So I think we all got our 2 cents in. Well, your guess is as good as mine, you guys. So I don't know. If you think of something, comment. Let me comment here if you think of something pops into your head. Make sure you subscribe to my channel here. Like my videos, comments. That helps with the algorithms for me too. You know, we do come out with our Behind the Bikini podcast every single week as well. So, yeah. I don't know what to tell you guys. I mean, maybe they'll come out with a better explanation, and maybe I'm just completely off the mark. I don't know. We'll see. But that's my 2 cents, you guys. Other than that, hey, we're almost there for the Olympia for this year. So if you're coming, I'll be here. I'm here already. I'll be here for the Olympia, and I'll see you here. So let's see how this works out for this year and what they do going into next year. Maybe they'll make some amendments. I don't know. We'll see. All right, guys. Have a great night.